This program is brought to you by Community Trust Bank, Medical City, Bid Select, and the Neely School of Business at TCU. Welcome to Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. Now, here's your host, Shivaun Palmer.
Welcome back, everybody, to Platforms, a life-lifting news program for women. We're continuing our conversation today with Miss Cindy Brinkley. Cindy is the Senior Vice President of Talent Development and the Chief Diversity Officer at AT&T. I got to ask you about your title here, Miss Brinkley. It sounds like a lot of fun. Tell our audience specifically what you do.
Well, it is a lot of fun, first to start out with. My role is really essentially to develop the workforce, if you will. I have responsibility for all the talent development, the succession planning, the workforce planning, the training, all the training for the company, our new university within AT&T University, and then all the diversity efforts. I'm the Chief Diversity Officer for the company. So it's really, it's the fun part of the people job, let me just put it that way.
How many employees does AT&T have worldwide?
We have about 285,000.
Wow.
Employees.
Remarkable. This is a real issue today in the workplace, and I'm just curious as to what, with the recession and people looking for jobs, how do you as a company go out and find the best folks to bring into AT&T? And then second question is, how do you retain good people?
You know, first of all, you're exactly right in kind of where we are within the whole talent world. I mean, I know we're in the middle of a recession and have a lot of challenges, but what the research shows us is that we are going to face a skills shortage, a talent shortage coming up very soon.
Very soon.
And so, you know, particularly with our knowledge workers. So that's a big reason why my job was put into place, is to try and develop our workforce internally and make sure that we've got the right programs, the processes, to identify this talent, to get the talent developed properly, and to move them into the right jobs for that. So there's a lot of internal efforts going on underway. We also have a very substantial external recruiting effort that we do. So we do all the standard recruiting things, from all the online, you know, using all the online tools, to going to all the various conferences and such to try and find talent. But it is a challenge, and it's one that we continue to work on, one that we put a lot of focus on, a lot of emphasis on. But I think once you get them in the door, making sure that they're developed, making sure that they're engaged, and simple words, but a lot of effort goes on behind those. Yeah.
It's very strategic. You know, these days with this big paradigm shift in terms of corporate environments and so forth, a lot of employers are trying to identify employees' skills and passions so that they can kind of utilize that. So you have happy workers and they're doing things that they're very talented at doing, instead of being kind of pigeonholed.
You know, and that is so critical, because it's what we call that is really the sweet spot. It's that if you think of, you know, kind of what somebody's skills are, what they like doing, and what the company needs, if those three can kind of interact, it's tremendous. Because what you're also doing then is playing off of an employee's strengths, and that's really important. That's what our leadership model is all about. It's about leveraging your strengths, and you know what the research shows is if you make your strengths stronger, then your results are going to be so much bigger overall versus like, you know, we all used to do, and going to where you're the weakest and trying to, you know, like bring it up a tiny bit, but making your strengths stronger. So
another area you're responsible for is identifying future leaders. I'm just curious, I know you've been with the company over 20 years. Is your definition of a leader in 2010 different than, say, 15, 20 years ago with all the different dynamics of change?
You know, I would say that it is. I would say that the requirements now are much different than they were. The span of controls are much larger for a leader. What he or she must be able to do, and the skill set that they have to have is so different than it was 10 or 20 years ago. Being able to communicate well, inspire, and lead, being able to lead through change, that's a huge component, because change is constant, right? And being able to get results through all that, those are really challenging opportunities, and ones that we spend a lot of time trying to develop people to handle.
You know, women are entering the workforce at record numbers, as you well know, and there's a troubling statistic in that there's still such a small percentage of CEOs nationwide. What do you attribute that to, Cindy?
You know, it's hard to say exactly if there's one silver bullet on that, Shivaun. I would say, you know, some of it is opportunities, taking the right opportunity in the sense of an operations role a lot of times, taking the risks that come with that. just being able to have the flexibility to sometimes move with your job and being able to kind of go with that. So there's a lot of differing reasons why that's the case. I will tell you, I'm really proud of what we've done at AT&T in the sense of the number. We don't have a female CEO, but we do have a lot of female executives within the business.
So C-level execs within.
Yeah, absolutely, that have actually kind of been there for quite some time. It's not just like our first thing, and we also have 25% of our board is made up of women. So, it's a prominent thing, and I would say for those women who are wondering about that, I would just say make sure you pick the right company in the right industry where diversity is valued, where the female perspective is taken into account, and where it's not just a nice little feature, but it actually just a part of how you do business.
And it's the culture of the company.
It's the culture. That's right. That's exactly right. That's really important.
Well, you're talking about traits, and and again, this show, we love our men. We have a lot of men on this show, so this is not anti-male at all. But women do seem to bring some unique traits and qualities to the work environment. Why don't you address those, and how does that impact the bottom line of a company?
Well, again, I mean, this does not apply to everyone, right? But typically women are much more collaborative. And if you look in this environment with which we operate, it's kind of hard to design an organizational structure where someone can just play in their own little silo and not have to work outside of it. And so that kind of ability, that capability is really, really important, being much more collaborative, cooperative. Those are traits that I think in this new era in which we live are highly valued. Communication skills typically are stronger with females, inspiring and motivating, and having that kind of empathy. Right. Again, doesn't apply to everyone, but kind of if you look on average, I think that's a key difference. So.
Another key area for employers is retention of key employees. What do you guys do to make sure that once you bring in some top performers and you invest a lot of money and time, that you're going to be able to retain that brain power and not have it siphoned off,
It's a good question. I think it's one that's going to come up even more going forward once things turn around a little bit more. Number one, you've got to identify who those people are. Yes. And I think that's a real key thing. You've got to have a discipline, a process in place to where you can actually know who the players are, you know where they are, you know what their skill set is, you know what opportunities they need to kind of round that out. And I think you've got to communicate with them too. I mean, if there's someone who's highly valued, you need to let them know that and not let them be guessing. There's all kinds of retention packages that you can put together to hang on to folks. But I think the important thing about making sure that they understand that where they sit in the universe, so to speak, and providing them opportunities for their continued development is really key on there.
Beautiful. Cindy, hold that thought. We're going to go to break and continue our conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Shivaun Palmer with Cindy Brinkley of AT&T with Platforms, a life-lifting news program for women. We'll be back in a moment.